This is how I made 394 hot dogs and took the leftover hot dog water and froze it to make hot dog shaped ice sculptures, which I then mailed out to people in unrefrigerated containers so that when they arrive, they're just puddles of hot dog water. So step one was to dress up like a hot dog salesman and cook 394 hot dogs. And I only needed the hot dog water. I didn't need the hot dogs themselves. So I put all the hot dogs into coolers and I made this big sign that said free hot dogs. And then I painted inside each letter and just went out into the city and gave out all the hot dogs on the street for free. Step two was to take a large chunk of aluminum and cut it in half. And then I brought each half of the aluminum to the milling machine, and this was to just make the two halves of the ice mold. I needed both parts of the mating surfaces to be completely flat and parallel, and so once that was done on the milling machine, I brought it over to the CNC and made a fixture. And then I put the aluminum chunks in and had the CNC cut out the shape of the hot dog, the negative of it. And this is the bottom half of the mold. And once that was done, I took out the bottom half of the mold and super glued in the top half of the mold and did the exact same thing. I did run into an issue though with the top half of the mold where the CNC had a hard time carving out the ketchup line. There were parts of it that it couldn't really reach. And so I did a fix where I put a ball nose end mill and a drill and just manually carved out the ketchup line myself. And once that was done, I had both halves of the mold completed and I just needed to figure out a way to attach them to one another. So I cut out these chunks of aluminum and brought them back to the milling machine and started making 4 brackets. And I drilled a large hole through the center of each one and then 4 smaller holes that were each countersunk that would accept bolts. And I made sure to chamfer the edges of the holes. And with those 4 brackets done, I needed to figure out a way to attach the brackets to the actual mold. And so I drilled and tapped holes, which I could then mount on with bolts that I screwed down. And I did the same thing for the top half of the mold, but instead of using the custom brackets, I used linear bearings. And I cut out these 4 pieces of rod and attached handles so that the molds could slide up and down. And this is the first test that I did, and there were 2 main issues with it. One is it took a really long time. It took 11 minutes for the mold to melt. And the second issue was the ice was super cloudy and bubbly, and I wanted to have perfectly clear ice, so I destroyed that and found this solution to make perfectly clear hot dog water ice, which was if you freeze them in small coolers without a top on, it directionally freezes and all the impurities fall to the bottom before they can freeze into the ice. And so I made a bunch of ice blocks, and I also got these glass containers and screen printed on the name of the piece and my name, Sunday Nobody. I also got this laser etching spray so that I could engrave the top of it with my signature and the date that it was sealed. And to make the entire process move faster, I came up with this heating solution with a propane burner and was able to heat up the aluminum mold so that the ice would melt faster. And aluminum has a really high heat coefficient, so I was able to absorb a lot of that heat, and it was super fast with this. And this is the final product. I made sure to take a Polaroid of each individual ice sculpture, and I numbered them for proof of authenticity, and then I just repeated the process over and over again. And I also made sure that when I was putting the ice sculptures in their containers that I hermetically sealed them so that no smell or liquid would come out during shipment. And this is what it looked like at the end after the ice sculpture had melted. And that's the whole process. Hope you liked it.